Kobe Bryant is the greatest scorer the NBA has ever seen. But what if we took today's best scorer in Luka Doncic and give him the chance to fill Kobe's shoes? While there's no doubt that over time we'll see Luka do some great things, the real question is, can he win 5 championships just as Kobe did? Well, only time will tell, but currently, he's coming off the bench just like the Mamba. But regardless of his limited minutes, Luka still put up respectable numbers while giving LA second unit a much needed spark. And we have to remember Luka's playing with Shaquille O'Neal, a legendary center who will likely help him win multiple championships down the line. But in their first playoff series together, they ran into the NBA's all-time assist leader and a very suspicious mailman. And while one day Luka will be playing alongside said mailman, today he's dominating the Lakers and knocking them out in a quick 3 games. Luka's first year in the NBA was far from perfect, but with the experience he gained heading into year 2, it's not a shocker to see that he was able to leap up to 18 points per night. He's quickly becoming one of the best young players in the NBA, which helped LA claim the 5th seed in the West. However, in the first round, Luka's being guarded by future Hall of Famer Gary Payton. He's known for his lockdown defense, and he certainly shut down Luka in this series. So much so that after the first 3 games, the Supersonics would take this series and shut down Los Angeles' postseason. So far, Luka's had a shaky start to his career, and fairly so because he came into the NBA at only 18 years old. But by year 3, he shaped into a young star that complements Shaq's game very well. This duo shines in the pick and roll, and with Luka being a 6'7" point guard, it leaves very few options for NBA defenses. These two are taking the league by storm, and with the duo this good, it's only right the Lakers won 58 games and are on top of the Western Conference. At this point, Luka's a much different player than he was just 2 years ago and will only continue to get better. But in the second round, he's meeting back up with the Seattle Supersonics. Gary Payton is back for more, but now Luka's a more polished player, and that alone would be enough for the Lakers to start up the series 2-0. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The glove is still playing amazing defense, and it translates to buckets on the other end. Just like that, he's tying this series in 2 games. But that wouldn't last long because the series is starting to lean in Game 5, with Luka and the Lakers taking a 3-2 lead. But once again, Gary Payton is being stubborn, playing scrappy defense and forcing a Game 7. And while Payton has undoubtedly given LA a serious problem in these playoffs, Shaq would take over and put this series away for good. It was a long and hard-fought series, but they're now in the Western Conference Finals, facing the San Antonio Twin Towers. And when you have 2 great bigs, there's only so much a team can do to stop you. Eventually, Tim Duncan and David Robinson are guiding the Spurs past the Lakers, and ultimately went on to win the 1999 NBA Finals. While the Lakers did just come up short, it's a great sign to see what's coming for the near future. Luka's developing into quite the player, but we have to remember that in 2000, Kobe went on to win his first championship. With that being said, the pressure is officially on for Luka, and under these extreme circumstances, Luka took a step back and met the expectations. At this point, he's a borderline superstar, and in the spotlight of Los Angeles, he's quickly becoming a fan favorite. By the time the playoffs arrived, the Lakers had stacked 63 wins, and in the first round, they're body slamming the Warriors. And following that massacre of a series, they do the same to Portland, eliminating them in 5 and heading back to the Western Conference Finals. The Lakers have been on a roll so far, but it seems as if they've met their match. The Phoenix Suns came to Los Angeles and won not just 1 game, but the first 2. This shocked me, and I'm sure it shocks you as well. But fortunately enough, our star duo is returning to favor and taking games 3 and 4 in Arizona. But just as we feared, the Lakers are once again losing in LA. The Suns now have a 3-2 lead and are now just a single win away from packing up our Lakers. And if Luka loses here, then he's officially falling behind Kobe, who went all the way this year. Faced with that reality, Luka came to Phoenix prepared, shot after shot. Doncic is putting the team on his back. He tallied 39 points and he's now forcing a Game 7. Just now 1 win away from his first NBA Finals, and with Shaq on his side, it's easy to think they'll put an end to this back and forth with Phoenix. However, in Game 7, Luka would have a complete meltdown. He couldn't seem to find his groove, and Shaq didn't have the best performance either. By the time those 48 minutes ran off the clock, the Suns had brutally beaten the Lakers. And not only that, but robbed Luka of his chance to match Kobe winning his first championship by 2000. And Luka needs to start winning fast, because Shaq only has 4 years left before he departs from Miami. So with his foot on the gas, Luka would not only make the players around him better, but he individually improved as a defender. He made the all-defensive second team and showed he can make an impact on both sides of the floor. Luka's been locked in all season long, and once the playoffs rolled around, there was only one thing on his mind. First off, he's handing up beating to the Grizzlies, making them an example of the Luka and Shaq duo while putting the league on notice. The Lakers are now ready for some sweet revenge on the Suns, who defeated them last year. And given such an opportunity, our pair of stars wouldn't let it go to waste as they won 3 of the first 4 games and placed themselves up 3-1. Payback is the sweetest joy of all, and that's the amazing feeling that Luka would experience after an amazing Game 5 win. But that emotion wouldn't last long since we're playing the Spurs in the conference finals. And all of our smiles are certainly fading after a Game 1 loss at home to Tim Duncan. While the Spurs are a true threat to Luka winning multiple championships, this year he's taking the reign because he's going on to gentlemen sweep the Spurs. While this been quite a wait, he finally has a chance to prove that he belongs in Kobe's shoes, but standing in his way of a championship is no other than League MVP Allen Iverson. However, regardless of him being on the roster, it doesn't mean much when he's surrounded by scrubs. While we'll likely see closer finals matchups in the future, Luka had no issue with finding his shots against AI, and after 4 games of tearing apart the Philly defense, Luka's finally winning his first championship. And while he still has a long way to go, he's only going to get better. With that being said, Luka's nearly averaging a triple-double while simultaneously being one of the best shooters in the league. With 64 wins, it's no surprise the Lakers are championship favorites. And by the time the NBA Finals roll back around, the Lakers are here to protect the throne. So far, he's lived up to the hype and then some. And if we fast forward 4 games, the Lakers have a 3-1 lead. And back home in Los Angeles, they ultimately put the dagger in the Bucks, and the Lakers are going back-to-back as NBA champions. That means Luka now has 2 rings, but he still has 3 more to go. And I don't mean to spoil the moment, but we have to remember Shaq only has 2 years left in LA. Luka has to capitalize now, because he'll inevitably be stuck with some pretty questionable teammates in the near future. But as of right now, there's nothing to worry about because Luka's taking quite possibly his greatest leap yet. He averaged 34 points and was just a couple assists shy of a triple-double. Regardless, this is enough for him to win his first MVP, but the real question is, can the Lakers win 3 championships in a row? Well, in the first round, they're paralyzing the Mavericks, sending home the Dirk and Nash duo. And in the second round, Luka's doing the exact same to the Minnesota Timberwolves and heading on to the Western Conference Finals. He's now facing the Lakers' California rival in the Golden State Warriors. And while I did mention a rivalry, those are typically competitive, something this series was not. It's been a long journey up to this point, but if Luka can complete this three-peat, then it's safe to say that he's doing just fine in Kobe's circumstances. But in his path of claiming number 3 loss to Detroit Pistons, a team known for their tenacious defense and rough style of basketball. Initially, I thought they posed a challenge, but Luka and Shaq would prove quite the opposite. I expected our duo to lose at least a couple games, but they decided this series would be a sweep, claiming their 3rd consecutive championship, and I'll be the first to say it, Luka's doing just fine in Kobe's career. And not only has Luka won 3 championships, but he's already won an MVP, something Kobe wouldn't do until 2008. It's obvious that he's a great player on a great team, but they're getting even better by adding Gary Payton, who Luka's battled with before. And not only him, but also the suspicious member we met in Utah many years ago. This is undoubtedly the best team that Luka's been a part of to date, but while he was happy for Shaq when he was the sidekick, Shaq isn't too happy about passing over the key. Luka doesn't know it yet, but he's about to play his final year alongside Shaq, and he needs to make it count because after the 2004 season, things are going to take a turn for the worst. But we'll get to that because this year, the Lakers are doing unfathomable things. This team was scary. They could pound the rock inside, run a pick and roll, or give it to Luka and let him work. Whichever you choose, you're only picking your poison. And when the season reached its conclusion, the Lakers had amounted 72 wins, including a 29-game win streak. And when you flirt with averages of a triple-double on the most winning team of all time, it's only right you take home the MVP award. The Lakers are the clear-cut favorites to win the 04 NBA Finals and three-peat, but Shaq knows if they pull that off, then Luka will be getting all the credit instead of him. And in a way, Shaq will become somewhat of a double agent, holding onto the ball much longer and causing Luka's numbers to drop in the postseason. By the time we arrive in the Western Conference Finals, Luka and Shaq's relationship has more than soured. At this point, they barely even pass the ball to each other, and this will lead to the San Antonio Spurs triumphing the Lakers, and ultimately ending what could have possibly become the greatest season of all time. The media would only make things worse, continuing to add on to the beef until eventually, the Lakers were forced to make a decision. Shaq was soon being shipped off to Miami, where he has an opportunity to play with Dwayne Wade and win a championship in another big market. But as for Luka, he's facing an entirely new reality. His team is crammed with whatever scrubs the Lakers front office could pull together, and I think this guy was a 5th grade PE teacher. Nonetheless, if Luka's literally going to follow in Kobe's footsteps, then that means the Lakers will miss the playoffs in the 05 season. But Luka doesn't want to meet the exact same fate, and with that goal in mind, he's going to work. But it wouldn't be easy, as he saw many double teams throughout the regular season, and rightfully so. When you play with the local LA Fitness squad, teams can afford to do that. Regardless of the many hardships Luka will run into this season, he still remained level-headed and climactically brought the Lakers to 45 wins and the 5th seed. And surprisingly, they go on to sweep the Portland Trailblazers, but in the end, they'd be facing some karma. While they weren't getting swept by the Suns, they might as well have been because they only won a single game. And just like that, Luka's struggles have officially begun. And that was just the start, because in the offseason, the Lakers will fail to make an impactful change. Luka needs to carry this team if they plan on making the playoffs, and his struggles would all be summed up by a January 22nd game versus the Toronto Raptors. He was scoring the ball at an elite level, but he couldn't do it alone. At one point, the Raptors even took an 18-point lead, but Luka's making the decision to take things into his own hands.
They just yo-yo in the dribble and stops at the top of the key. Still 6.5 to play in the third. He pulls up for a three. Yes!
Slowly but surely, he made sure the Lakers crept back into this game.
The three again. Yes! Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed the second greatest scoring performance in NBA history. 79 points. Field. This would be 18 for 20 from the line and an 81-point game.
And eventually Luka would overcome the Raptors, making NBA history in the process. This 81-point game is the second most in a single game ever, but being great at putting the ball in the hole alone doesn't automatically make your team a contender. I wish I could tell you the 06 season would end as magically as an 81-point game, but unfortunately, it wouldn't. While Doncic would average a ludicrous 36-point double-double and finish second in MVP voting, in the end it was only enough for a first-round exit at the hands of the Dallas Mavericks. Luka knows it's time for something to change, and that in turn would be his jersey number. He's switching to Kobe's iconic number 24, and I surely hope it leads to the same amount of success. He also has help on the way, but he'll have to wait just a little bit longer. The 07 season will be a long and dreadful one to say the very least. Luka's growing frustrated with the franchise and contemplating leaving the organization as a whole. The world is starting to forget just how good Luka truly is. But in the playoffs, it's time for him to wake everyone up. They will kick off with a matchup against Denver, as he's facing Allen Iverson and Carmelo Anthony, one of the best scoring tandems the NBA has to offer. But for every bucket the two put up, Luka would match it with one of his own. While there's no denying the abilities of the Denver duo, they're being upset by the 7-seeded Lakers. And in the second round, Luka's making quick work of the Rockets, nearly pulling off a sweeping route to the conference finals. So far, he's done some spectacular things in this run, but I'd be lying if I said they had hope against the Spurs. I'll even save me and you both some time. The Lakers got absolutely dominated. It's been a rough couple of years for Luka since Shaq's departure. He wishes he can turn back to the glory days where he was winning championships. However, he can do just that because the Lakers are making their biggest move in over a decade. They made a trade to acquire Pau Gasol, a future Hall of Famer who might be the piece Luka's been missing. The front office has finally given Doncic a new running mate, and it's now up to him to perform. But just in case you were wondering, he's averaging a 31-point triple-double and also shooting 46% from behind the arc. And when you pair that with another European star who's a double-double machine in his own right, it equates to 65 wins for a team. And Luka's once again following right in Kobe's footsteps, heading to the 08 NBA Finals, and coincidentally facing the Boston Celtics at a shot for his 4th championship. It's been a very long time since Luka had a chance like this, and surely he won't put it to waste. Luka showed out in Game 1, puncturing the Celtics defense. While he made a mockery out of them, the tides are swiftly shifting. Boston came out in Game 2 and embarrassed the Lakers. They then wrote it off for the next 2 games, now winning a 3-1 lead over Luka and the Lakers. But Luka's crawled from holes once before, so why not do it again? He stopped the bleeding by winning Game 5, and I truly believe a comeback is still possible. Well, that's what I like to believe, but my hope is quickly running out. The Boston squad is overwhelming the Lakers, and after Game 6, they're taking the 2008 Finals in their favor. While Luka failed to beat the 08 Celtics, that's okay because the Mamba wasn't successful either. And if he continues to replicate Kobe, then that means the 09 season will be one to remember. And that it would be. The European duo of Luka and Pau are meshing even better together with the year of experience under their belts. With the size of these lads from overseas, there's a big reason they won 60 games. But if we fast forward to the Western Conference Finals, there's an even larger challenge waiting just ahead. The Houston Rockets are equipped with a 6'8" Tracy McGrady and a 7'6" Yao Ming. And with that being said, there's no wonder the Rockets blasted off to a quick 2-0 lead. But Luka has a little magic of his own, and in games 3 and 4 he had a few tricks to reveal. The series is currently tied 2 games for both sides, But will Luka be the one prevailing and walking towards the NBA Finals? Well, to answer your question, yes, he will. He put away the Rockets, and Luka's now one series away from championship number 4. The last team remaining in Luka's quest is a 58-win Magic roster built around Dwight Howard. There's no denying the greatness of a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year winner, and he's a great player in his own right. However, when you're facing a player as good as Luka, and factoring in him having a generational big on his own side, it's not too surprising to see that Luka will be prevailing, and he's now a 4-time NBA champion. He's now just a single championship away from stepping into Kobe's shoes completely. However, it's not going to be as easy as it sounds. Luka has to strike right now, because if he fails to overcome the odds this season, LeBron's forming a dynasty in Miami, and with him being 31 right now, his prime will be coming to an end soon. Time is ticking, so if he fails to win a ring this year, who knows if he'll get another chance. Well, unironically, he's still one of the best players in the league, and that'll be best shown off in the form of an MVP, his 5th to be exact. And in the playoffs, they got rid of Denver, and will follow up behind this series with yet another win against the Clippers. The Lakers plan on protecting their title, but not without a little hindrance. You see, the league's changing every day, and they're playing a young squad from Oklahoma City. And these young, fresh legs would run circles around the Lakers. However, the veteran experience of Luka and friends is enough for them to hold on until a Game 7. But with the home crowd backing him, as well as something to prove, KD's wrapping up this series and putting the Lakers away for good. And this is terrible timing for Luka, because his worst nightmare is coming true. LeBron's making his decision to head down south, forming a big three with Wade and Bosh that'll run the league for the foreseeable future. Since we can't predict exactly what will happen down the road, we'll just focus on what's going on right now. Luka might be 32 years old, but he's still getting buckets and making league history, averaging a triple-double and once again winning MVP. This puts him at 6, and he's now tying Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most of all time. Luka feels amazing, so much so that he's putting together another historic run. They swept through the entire Western Conference, and if Luka wins the championship here, then there's no doubt that this will be the greatest season of all time. And not only that, but he'd finally be matching Kobe's 5 championships. But while that's a great goal to have in mind, for now what's standing strictly is that his high hopes are being cut down by the Miami Big Three. As we're watching LeBron win his first ring, Luka's greatest fear imaginable has come to light, and it won't be leaving anytime soon. So that means if Luka wants to fulfill his destiny, then he has no choice but to go through them. So in the 2012 season, Luka will go out and do what he does best, putting up all-around numbers and scoring the ball like an all-time great. And the regular season at this point is just a playground for him. What's really important is the playoffs, and in the second round, he's up against the Lob City Clippers. There's no true home court advantage, so quite frankly, this series is up in the air for the better team to win. But up to Game 4, it's a toss-up because both teams have 2 wins and are being stubborn. But with the athleticism of Blake Griffin and the wizardry of Chris Paul, the Clippers are coming out of this scuffle as the victors. And with this loss, Luka's just 4 seasons away from retirement. There's no doubting the legacy he's left behind to this point, but it'll haunt him forever if he can't get one more championship before his time is up. So with that in mind, why not bring in some more veterans who have something to prove themselves? The offseason began with the Lakers making a sign and trade deal for Steve Nash, a player who's past his prime, but nonetheless still more than a serviceable starter. But it wouldn't stop there, as we then traded for Dwight Howard, a great rim protector, and quite possibly the best big man in the league at this point in time. The pieces have been laid out for Luka, and all he has to do is bring them together. He's pretty consistent with leading a team, and with this supporting veteran cast of experienced players, the Lakers wound up with 64 wins. Round 1, they're facing the Timberwolves, and let me tell you, this series wouldn't be close at all, which carried over into the next round. They're playing the Golden State Warriors, who without a doubt will have their own place in time to shine, but that won't be right now because despite the incredible shooting abilities from the Splash Bros, they couldn't even win one game against Luka and what appears to be a Lakers super team. However, in the Western Conference Finals, things are getting intense. We're set to face the San Antonio Spurs, a team not only with immense history, but also a bright future as Kawhi Leonard is developing into quite the two-way star. He's the one tasked with guarding Luka, so it's not a surprise for me to inform you that the Spurs are running off with Game 1. And I wish I could say anything different about Game 2, but honestly, that game wouldn't see much of a different reality. The Lakers are down 2-0 and have to strike back right now. So in Game 3, maybe the most important game heading forward, The Lakers are staying afloat and boosting themselves up a game. But when I tell you that what happens next is crazy, just hear me out. Tim Duncan will make bank shot after bank shot after bank shot, rallying the Spurs to a 3-1 lead in the 2013 Western Conference Finals. Luka's back is against the wall, but he isn't scared, nor has he ever backed down from a challenge. In Game 5, the Lakers got a much-needed win, making the series 3-2, and they even came back home in Game 6, beating the Spurs and sending a message to the entire basketball world. Luka's had his fair share of iconic moments, but maybe this is the greatest one yet. Pulling off a 3-1 comeback on one of the most impressive accomplishments in basketball. But he's now in the 2013 NBA Finals, and on the other end of the line lies none other than the Miami Heat. Luka's biggest challenge yet. But now he has a team to compete, and this time, it'll certainly be a different story than the series in 2011. This legendary battle is tipping off in Miami, so it's only right that he won the first 2 games on their own home floor. Luka might be down 2-0, however that's not lasting long as LA saw 2 wins on their own home court and are evening things out. While this series has so far been quite entertaining, the Lakers burglarized Game 5. Luka can almost taste another championship. So with that fire being lit, he's getting it done in 6, walking away as the ultimate victor, and he's finally fulfilled his journey in Kobe's career. It's safe to say that with all this hardware, Luka's the greatest player of all time. But what if we went back to where it all started and removed Shaq from Kobe's career? How would their careers turn out? And most importantly, how many championships did the two win without each other? Well, if you click this video on the screen, we can find out together.